Did you know that the average person is manipulated over a dozen times a day, often without even realizing it? Think about that. From the moment your alarm clock goes off to the moment your head hits the pillow. It's in the news you consume, the advertisements you see, the emails from your boss, even in the way a loved one asks you for a favor. Most of it is harmless, a gentle nudge. But some of it isn't. Some of it is designed to control you, to take from you, or to feed an emptiness inside the other person. For 30 years, I sat across from people in small, sterile rooms. My job was to understand the why. Not just what they did, but why they did it. Because once you understand the motive, the whole tangled mess of lies and deception unravels like a cheap sweater. People think manipulation is about bad people doing bad things. It's more complicated than that. It's about scared people, hungry people, and people who are desperately trying to control a world that feels like it is spinning out of control. Today, we're not just going to talk about spotting a lie. We're going to go deeper. We're going to decode the 4 core motivations that drive someone to manipulate another human being. This isn't about creating a list of villains to avoid. This is about giving you a new lens through which to see the world. It's the difference between influence and manipulation. Influence is transparent. It's arguing a point, sharing a passion. Manipulation has a hidden agenda. It's a game where only one person knows the rules. By the end of our time here, you'll not only be able to protect yourself, but you might even understand the people in your life a little better. We'll look at power, fear, resources, and validation. Each one has a face, a story, and a set of tells, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. This is the first step to reclaiming your autonomy. Let's start with the most primal motivation of them all: power and control. At its core, this isn't about strength, it's about weakness. The person who needs to control everyone and everything around them is terrified of the chaos inside themselves. Their internal world is a storm, so they try to turn the external world into a neatly organized dollhouse where they can move all the pieces. They believe that if they can manage every situation, every variable, every person, then nothing can hurt them. It's a desperate and ultimately futile attempt to feel safe. I dealt with a man once, a mid-level executive named Silas. In his department, he was a king. Not because he was brilliant, but because he was the sole gatekeeper of information. He'd hoard crucial data, give different team members conflicting instructions, and then, when the inevitable chaos erupted, he would swoop in as the only one who could fix it. He wasn't building a team, he was cultivating a garden of dependency. His employees couldn't make a move without him. They felt insecure, incompetent, and constantly off balance. And that's exactly where he wanted them. His power wasn't derived from his competence, but from their confusion. This isn't just confined to the boardroom. Think about the family matriarch who insists on approving every decision her adult children make, from what car they buy to where they go on vacation. It's framed as care, as love, but look closer. It's about control. Her validation is the toll you have to pay to make a choice in your own life. Or the friend who always has to be the one to choose the restaurant, plan the trip, and set the agenda. Any deviation from their plan is met with passive aggression or a subtle guilt trip. They aren't collaborating, they are directing. The psychological principle at play here is related to what they call a locus of control. We all want to feel like we have a say in our own lives, but for these individuals, their internal locus of control is broken. They don't trust themselves to handle uncertainty, so they project that need outward, trying to micromanage the world into submission. They create systems of dependency because it's the only way they know how to feel essential. So let me ask you a couple of questions. Have you ever worked for someone who seemed to thrive on being the only person with the answers, where information was treated like a currency to be doled out? And think about your personal life. Is there someone who makes you feel like you have to ask for permission to live your own life? That's the signature of a power-motivated manipulator. The second driver is perhaps the most human: fear and insecurity. If the power seeker builds a prison around others, the fear-driven manipulator builds a fortress of lies around themselves. Their greatest terror is exposure. They are terrified you will discover they are not smart enough, not good enough, not worthy of love or respect. So they become masters of deflection, projection, and the art of twisting reality itself. Manipulation, for them, isn't a sword, it's a shield. I remember a case involving a bookkeeper, a quiet woman named Margaret who had worked at a small family business for 20 years. Money started going missing, just small amounts at first. When the owner finally confronted her with the discrepancies, he expected denial, anger. Instead, he got a flood of tears and a labyrinth of confusing stories. She blamed another employee. Then she claimed the computer system was faulty. Then she hinted that the owner's son had a gambling problem. She played the victim so masterfully that the owner actually found himself apologizing to her. She was so convincing because she was so scared. The truth was simple. She had gotten into debt and made a stupid mistake. But admitting she was fallible and had failed the people who trusted her, was more terrifying than any legal consequence. Her manipulation was a desperate attempt to protect her fragile sense of self. This is the engine behind gaslighting, a term you hear a lot these days. It's a classic fear-based tactic. The partner who swears they never said they'd pick up the kids from school and then adds, "You're so forgetful lately. Are you feeling okay?" They aren't trying to drive you crazy. They're trying to dodge the searing shame of being seen as unreliable. They create confusion to escape accountability. It's a magic trick. Look over here at your supposed instability, so you don't look over here at my actual mistake. It often comes from a place of deep-seated hurt. Many of these manipulators were victims themselves at one point. They learned early on that vulnerability gets you hurt and accountability gets you punished. So they built a new operating system based on blame shifting and reality bending. It's a tragic cycle. From a psychological standpoint, this is a powerful example of cognitive dissonance. The brain cannot comfortably hold two opposing ideas at once. I am a good, trustworthy person, and I just did a bad, untrustworthy thing. The mental friction is too great. So, to resolve it, the manipulator doesn't change their behavior, they change the story. They rewrite reality until their actions become justified, necessary, or somebody else's fault. So, let me ask you, have you ever left a conversation feeling utterly confused, questioning your own memory or sanity? Do you know someone whose life is a catalog of injustices done to them, where they are never, ever the one at fault? You are likely looking at someone who is operating not from a place of malice, but from a place of profound fear. Now, we move into the transactional world of the third motivation, resource acquisition, and I want you to broaden your definition of resources. We're not just talking about money. A resource is anything a person wants or needs. It can be your time, your emotional energy, your social connections, your skills, your attention. The manipulator driven by resource acquisition is a hunter. They see the world as a collection of assets to be harvested, and people are simply the tools to get them. Every interaction is a cost-benefit analysis. What can this person do for me? Let me tell you about a con man I'll call Julian. He was one of the smoothest operators I ever encountered. He didn't come at you with a flashy, unbelievable scheme. He was far more patient. He'd join a country club or a charity board, and for months he would be the perfect friend. He'd remember your wife's birthday, send a gift when your kid graduated, connect you with a contractor who did great work. He was building a massive surplus in the bank of social capital. He gave and gave and gave, making everyone feel indebted to him. Then, after a year, the hook would come out, a private investment opportunity just for his closest friends. He wasn't selling a stock, he was cashing in the trust he had so carefully manufactured. People didn't invest because the deal was good, they invested because they felt they owed him. He weaponized the human instinct for reciprocity. This pattern shows up in less dramatic ways all the time. Think of the friend who only ever calls when they need a ride, need to borrow something, or are going through a crisis and need a sympathetic ear. Your phone rings, you see their name, and you already know they want something. The relationship is entirely one-sided. You are their handyman, their therapist, their Uber. But when the tables are turned, and you're the one in need, they are suddenly, mysteriously, unavailable. A particularly potent form of this is love bombing. It's the tactic of overwhelming a new partner with affection, gifts, and attention. It feels intoxicating, like you found your soulmate. But it's a strategy. It's designed to create a powerful bond and a sense of obligation very quickly. Once the target is hooked, the manipulator can start making withdrawals, asking for money, demanding emotional support, isolating them from friends. The initial investment of charm was just the price of acquisition. It's a fundamentally predatory view of human connection. Think about the relationships in your own life for a moment. Are there any that feel profoundly imbalanced, where you feel more like a service provider than a friend or partner? Have you ever been so flattered and charmed by someone early on that you ignored red flags, only to find out later they had a clear agenda? That's the feeling of being seen not as a person, but as a resource. The fourth motivation is subtle and often flies under the radar. It can seem harmless, even pitiable. It's the desperate hunger for validation and attention. This manipulator isn't trying to control you or take your money. They are trying to fill a bottomless pit of emptiness inside themselves. They need your admiration, your sympathy, your attention, your focus, to feel real. Their sense of self-worth is entirely external. Without an audience, they feel like they don't exist. We call them emotional vampires for a reason. They drain your energy to fuel their own ego. I worked a bizarre case once, a series of anonymous tips about a local politician being involved in a bribery scandal. The tips were incredibly detailed, full of specific times and locations. We spent weeks chasing them down, only to find they were all dead ends. We eventually traced the tips back to a young man I'll call Kevin. When we brought him in, he confessed almost immediately. He had made it all up. He had no grudge against the politician. He wasn't trying to get money. We asked him, why? Why did you do it? And his answer was chillingly simple. He said, I wanted to be part of something important. I wanted you guys, the detectives, the reporters, to talk to me, to listen to me. For a few weeks, he was at the center of a major story. The attention, even though it was based on a lie, made him feel alive. You see a sanitized version of this every single day on social media. It's the person whose life is a curated series of overwrought dramas and vague cries for help. The cryptic post, worst day ever, don't want to talk about it, is engineered specifically to make people ask, what's wrong? Are you okay? They don't want a solution. They want a chorus of concern. They manufacture crises because stability is boring and doesn't generate likes. They overshare intimate details of their health, their relationships, their finances, not to connect, but to perform. Their life is a stage, and you are the audience. Their manipulation lies in their ability to make you feel responsible for their emotional state. They pull you into their drama, making you a character in their play. You find yourself spending hours talking them off a ledge, only to see them create a new crisis the following week. It is utterly exhausting. They are not connecting with you. They are using your emotional energy as a fix. This is rooted in a profound lack of internal self-worth. If you don't believe you matter, you must constantly seek external proof that you do. Any attention, positive or negative, serves as that proof. So ask yourself this. Do you know someone who, after you interact with them, leaves you feeling completely drained, as if all your energy has been siphoned off? Is there someone in your orbit who seems to lurch from one crisis to the next, with you always cast in the role of the savior? This isn't a partnership, it's a performance. And you've been drafted into the cast without your consent. So, we have our 4 motivations: the need for power, the shield of fear, the hunger for resources, and the craving for validation. The most important thing to understand is that these are not neat little boxes. people are messy. A manager's need for control can be driven by a deep-seated insecurity. A charismatic grifter's quest for money is often coupled with a narcissistic need for admiration. The lines are always blurry. The real key to protecting yourself is not to become a cynical detective, analyzing every single interaction. That's an exhausting way to live. Instead, learn to trust the evidence your own body gives you. Your gut is the most sophisticated surveillance system you will ever own. How does a person consistently make you feel? Do you feel respected and at ease? Or do you feel confused, on edge, guilty, or drained? Don't look for a single incident, look for the pattern. When you spot a pattern, your first line of defense is to create space. Manipulation thrives in urgency and ambiguity. Your tool to fight this is the boundary. And a boundary is simply a clear statement of what is and is not okay with you. You don't need a dramatic confrontation. Simple phrases work wonders. When someone is pressuring you, say, "I need some time to think about that." When someone is twisting your words, say, "That's not my memory of what happened." When you feel uncomfortable, simply say, "I'm not going to discuss this right now." These phrases are not aggressive, they are assertions of your own autonomy. They take back control, and sometimes the only winning move is to not play the game. Trust your gut when it tells you to disengage, to walk away. You don't owe anyone access to your life, your mind, or your resources. Understanding why someone manipulates you is not about excusing their behavior. It's about disarming it. When you can see the scared person behind the gaslighting, or the empty person behind the constant drama, you stop reacting emotionally. You can respond wisely. You move from being a pawn in their game to an observer who understands the rules. Awareness is your armor, and with it, you can navigate the world with more compassion, but more importantly, with more safety. Think about what we've discussed today. Does a particular person or situation come to mind? I encourage you to share your own experiences or questions in the comments. Understanding these dynamics is a lifelong process.